Welcome back, friends. You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and welcome back for another episode. We got so many episodes this weekend, I don't even know whether I'm coming or going. Just so much to cover, and everything's a debacle. And as the repeated theme of this weekend's episodes is Joe Biden just had to show up in January and be the best president ever. Open up the country, economy grows, no foreign conflict, bring the troops home safely. I mean, there was nothing. No war, no economic problems. We had a vaccine just get released, so he's going to distribute it. Trump already bought them all. Trump already set up the logistics for its dispersal. All you had to do is show up. And for the first 6 months, you just could have cruised to like best president ever. And he's destroyed everything. And now the spending continues. You know, as a country, we take in all the taxes and everything, we take in like $4 trillion. It's a lot of money. But have you subscribed? That's the question. Guys, you need to subscribe to YouTube, but you also need to subscribe to Rumble. That's our backup now, because YouTube's talking about you say the wrong thing, you don't agree with us, we're going to ban you. I already got banned once because of showing a public comment at a county commissioners meeting. So just to bring you the news, some of you go to work, so you couldn't go to the county commissioners meeting. So you tune in to the Johnny Brew Show to see what happened at the county commissioners meeting. But Johnny Brew is getting banned because he's showing you what happened at our government's public hearing. So now just check out Rumble. Anyway, so let's talk about the economy. Number one, any of you guys who watch this, I don't know any economists, right? Like if I need a lawyer or if I need a doctor or if I need a politician, I could find one to come sit down with me. I need an economist, a Thomas Sowell type, because I have a lot of questions about the economy. And if anybody knows anybody, have them give me a call or preferably a text, 702-501-5304, or throw me an email, thejohnnybrewshow@gmail.com. All right? So this is CNN covering how bad things are getting for the everyday Americans. Play tape.
All of this is creating sticker shock for everyday Americans. You know, there's been double-digit price increases in terms of percentages on everything from bacon and televisions to jewelry. There was a new report from the government out just this morning showing that we haven't seen inflation this hot since January of 1991. Kate, I think if you put all this together, it means that for this holiday shopping season, Americans should expect slower service, higher prices, and fewer options.
Number one, guys, all joking aside, go Christmas shopping now, because things are going to get ugly. Go Christmas shopping now, or at least start buying some stuff, because what happens if you want to buy somebody a PS5, and I don't even know what they're going for now. I thought they were going for $495. Maybe it's more now, because coronavirus changed everything for PlayStation gaming. I remember I used to buy controllers for like $45 to $55. And then during the pandemic, they were going for like $85 to $105. I don't know if they've come back down since then. I don't know the price of a PlayStation 5. But say you're going to buy one for $500. You know, with all these ships stranded out at sea waiting for people to unload these super mega container ships. And, you know, that one time the container ship got stuck in, I think it was the Suez Canal. You never know what's going to happen. Start your shopping now, especially if you want to buy something like a PlayStation. I mean, this isn't the first time we showed these numbers on the Johnny Brew Show. The inflation, prices are going up, and it doesn't look like that's slowing down anytime soon. And they're trying to blow out more spending. We only take in X amount of dollars. There's no way to just keep spending this money, and it's like a joke. It's like they're purposefully trying to break the system. Isn't there anybody from Harvard or Yale or what is that called when you go over Oxford? Isn't there anybody who can tell someone that if they keep trying to spend, or if they keep actually spending this much, we're going to break the system? Now, Pisaki wants to know, she says, I know none of us are mathematicians. Let me tell you guys something. A lot of you don't know. But Johnny Brew is a certified, degreed, official, 100% mathematician. I am. So, remember that, Pisaki, as you say whatever drivel you're about to say. Play tape.
It doesn't. I know none of us are mathematicians, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But yes, of the investments that were proposed, including tax cuts and the pay-fors, including making the tax system more fair, zero.
Do you guys acknowledge the sort of broader truth that it's not, that it does cost somebody, right? That the cost of the investments that the president wants to make they're not simply a free lunch, right? Whether they're going to cost people who smoke cigarettes, or they're going to cost business people, or they're going to cost companies, or they're going to cost rich people. Like, the cost of what the president wants to do over the course of the next decade and beyond falls on somebody, right?
But there's a clear difference between what we're talking about as it relates to taxpayer funds, right, or funding that or lead to our debt, right, which I know a lot of Republicans are supposedly concerned about, and asking businesses. 50 of the top companies last year in 2020 paid not a dollar in taxes. A lot of high-income high-income individuals pay lower tax rates than nurses and teachers. Nobody thinks that's fair. Yes, we're asking them to pay more. Yes, so it will cost them more.
Yo, it's absolute crap. Everything that comes out of her mouth, she can't possibly believe it. She can't possibly believe it. Number one, she's saying all they want is a fair tax. That's not true. They do not want a fair tax. And that's fine. It's okay. I understand you want to tax the rich, right? Just like AOC's beautiful dress at the $35,000 a plate gala. Whatever. You don't want a fair tax. You want to unfairly tax the rich more and tax the poor less. Or the poor, the bottom 45% of America don't even pay any taxes. 40 to 45% pay zero taxes in America. All right? But you don't want a fair tax. You want to unfairly tax the rich, which I can understand where you're coming from and what you're saying. And I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, even though it sounds bad when you frame it that way. But I didn't bring up fair or unfair. You did. And you do not want a fair tax. You want an unfair, extra burden on the rich tax. Number two, you're talking about these things, they're called sin taxes. All right, tobacco, alcohol, I'm sure marijuana has their sin tax. These sin taxes are primarily targeted at the lower and middle class. All right, the people who are buying Budweiser beer at the 7-Eleven on a Thursday or Friday night, pardon me, they aren't rich people. These are working class people just buying a six-pack to enjoy a night while they barbecue with a friend or something. All right? People who still smoke cigarettes, God bless them. You know what I mean? These are working men. Whether you're talking about landscapers, roofers, whoever. Even office workers like to get a fifth of vodka or buy a 12-pack of Stella Artois, right? Those sin taxes go directly against the least economically enabled. All right? If some rich guy wants to buy Louis the 13th and it costs him $950 and now it costs him $975 because of the sin tax, it's not affecting the rich. It's affecting the poor who are paying an extra $1 every time they buy a six-pack. But she says it's not going to hurt people, right? She says it's a huge difference between just taxing the poor and inflating and sin taxing and raising corporate taxes to raise prices, which is another form of inflation. I mean, poor people are going to have to pay more, which makes their money worth less, which means you're taxing poor people. All right? And then when you talk about certain corporations that don't pay any taxes, this goes back to the idiocy of AOC not wanting Amazon in New York. All right? The reason certain municipalities will offer somebody like Amazon tax-free for 5 years or something like that is to entice them to come to their city, because if they come to your city, that's a guaranteed 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 jobs. Boom. You sign on the dotted line, they go to construction. 2 years later, 10,000 jobs open up in your city overnight or over 2 years, whatever, however you want to look at it. And those 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 employees are all paying income tax. And they're all able to buy homes and pay property tax. And they're all able to go buy beer and cigarettes and pay sin tax. And that's why municipalities encourage big businesses to come. Maybe they're not paying taxes on their profits, but there's an agreement for them to reinvest in the community. And there's an agreement for them to have X amount of jobs available for the citizens of that municipality. The whole thing. You don't think these things through when you say stupid stuff. I don't care if you're AOC or if you're Psaki. It's lies. And now here's frickin' Frack. I played you a bunch of their videos earlier. I saved this one only because it's on this topic. But here's frickin' Frack. And like I said, if you ever want to know the pulse of the Democratic Party, just tune in to whenever they're making their little transition and their buddy talk to each other, how much, how righteous and virtuous they are. Play tape.
What's happening in Washington? You have the Democrats. They're making their own problems. We're going out of our way to do it in this society right
it's
now.
not necessarily, well, Democrats, yes. But you also have two Republicans in the Democratic Party who are making problems for the Democrats, and that's Manchin and Sinema.
That's your opinion?
No, that they are Republicans. Come on.
No, that's your opinion. They're both Democrats.
That's not an opinion. Just look at the way
they
they
are
vote.
both Democrats.
Yeah.
There's a D after their name. That's the fact.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's not.
No, don't let it get in the way of your opinion.
No.
I don't want you to be burdened by that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even have brought it up.
I see them as Republicans. So maybe you're right. I see them as Republicans. They're acting as Republicans. All right. But listen.
Aren't
nice
they
to use
cute?
cheap. But I love you, D. Lemon. Make your witness. There's a lot of big news.
I love you, D. Lemon. I love you, D. Lemon. Just like, I don't know if you saw the last episode where we were talking about COVID, and we're talking about the two NBA players who don't want to get the vaccine, both for different reasons, both having nothing to do with politics, both intelligent young men just speaking about why they made that personal decision. All right? You're not welcome in this Democratic Party, the party of diversity. If you don't agree with everything, you're out. So, Joe Manchin is a Democrat in West Virginia, which I think Trump won like 75-25. I mean, a real Republican state, West Virginia, has a Democratic senator, Joe Manchin. And you know why it works? Because he's not a progressive. He says, and we're going to hear from him later, how he says he's not even a liberal, but I believe he's a liberal. My definition of liberal is like moderate used to be Democrat, now moderate Republican, right? He's just a fiscal conservative from a coal mining state. But he's a Democrat. Whatever. It doesn't even matter. We're so divided by party lines. And the thing is, they're trying to pass this $3.5 trillion bill. And he's saying it's not fiscally responsible at all. People will have to pay for this eventually. But, and it's also about Krysten Sinema from Arizona. Same thing. That's a Republican state, which, you know, depends on who you ask. I don't know who actually won that presidential election. But Biden got the electoral votes when it counted. Here's Krysten Sinema absolutely triggering one of our favorite talking heads on during the week, this past week. Play tape.
Let you listen to Senator Krysten Sinema, who seems like at this point she's sort of competing with Joe Manchin to see who's going to be the most obstructionist, most flagrantly obstructionist. Here she is talking about the frustrations of your caucus.
What do you say that progressives that are frustrated that they don't know where you are?
I'm in the Senate. Right here.
The progressives? There are progressives within the Senate that are frustrated that they don't know where you are either.
I'm like literally right through the elevator.
I don't know if that was supposed to be a joke, Congressman. Krysten Sinema was in the House, partly overlapping when you were there. She was there from 2013 to 2019. You've been there since 2017. Do people consider her at this point to be an honest negotiator, or just doing that smirky comedic thing, whatever she thinks she's doing, and not acting in good faith?
I mean, this is the problem. All right? Again, the Democrats, they don't own the government. They are 50-50 in the Senate, and they have like a 6 or 8 seat advantage in the House of Representatives. All right? It's not like this country is overwhelmingly in support of progressive ideology. You know, socialist democratic crap. And anytime they have one person who disagrees with their ridiculousness, they paint them as the devil. This is a Democrat. I mean, they're so brutal to anybody that disagrees. And the problem is they have such a razor-thin majority that if one person says one thing cross-eyed, they ruin the whole Democratic plan, and they are painted as the absolute devil for simply thinking for themselves. If you're not a sheep, if you're in the Democratic Party and you don't follow orders, you're out. Here's Joe Manchin trying to explain himself. Play tape.
Happy to. So it sounds like the $1.5 trillion and all the stipulations that you signed on to at the end of July, that's your final offer, and that will not change.
First of all, let me make sure. At that point in time, I was not in favor of moving on this type of a piece of legislation. I wasn't trying to be the fly in the ointment at all. I've never been a liberal in any way, shape, or the form. There's no one has ever thought I was. I've been governor, I've been state secretary of state, I've been state legislature, I've been a U.S. senator, and I have voted pretty consistently all my whole life. I don't fault any of them who believe that they're much more progressive and much more liberal. God bless them. And all they need to do is we have to elect more, I guess, for them to get theirs, elect more liberals. But I'm not asking them to change. I'm willing to come from 0 to 1.5.
You know, and when he says liberal, I consider that progressive. But we could get into the semantics later. And more so than Sinema, there is a chance Manchin could become a Republican. I don't think so. I think he does good just the way he is in his Republican state. The people in the state trust him. And he's like a watchdog over there for the Democrats, because they will just spend till there's no spending left. All right? And then regarding Sinema earlier, she said, I'm right here. And I think because the girl was so triggered by what Sinema said, she failed to realize what a real awesome pun that was. She wasn't just being snarky and sarcastic saying, I'm right here. She meant not only am I right here in front of the elevator, but I'm right here, just like Manchin said. I am who I've always said I was. I'm not a crazy progressive. I am somewhat fiscally conservative. Joe Manchin said, I'm not against blowout spending. He goes, he didn't think any of these bills needed to be made. But after talking to people, they convinced him to go up to $1.5 trillion. He says I went from 0 to 1.5 trillion. He is given in. But to go to 3.5 trillion, he says it's absolutely flippin' ridiculous. He's not playing both sides. He's not looking for attention. He's just doing his job, which is to look out for the people he represents. Yet, here we go. And let me leave you with this. Again, they turn on each other at the drop of a hat. All right, here's Psaki explaining, covering her butt, throwing AOC under the bus, or explaining that, what's her name? The Speaker of the House, Pelosi, is responsible for getting the votes together, and, you'll see. Play tape.
Thanks so much, Jen. Representative Ocasio-Cortez just said that the most helpful thing President Biden could do would be to, quote, say we're going to pass these bills at once. That eliminates the infighting. Is the president willing to do that? And if not, why not?
The president is working in lockstep with Speaker Pelosi, the leader of the Democratic caucus, about how to get both of these pieces of legislation forward. We know there's a range of ideas. We welcome those, but we also trust Speaker Pelosi's ability to count votes.
So just to be sure, the president is sort of uncomfortable with saying, we're just going to tie these two bills together and sort of...
The president's uncomfortable with none of that. What the president's objective, though, is to get the pieces of legislation done. And while we appreciate the Congresswoman's ideas, the leader and the Speaker of the House and leader of the caucus probably has the best sense of how to get these things done.
And I was talking to a lawmaker yesterday who called the president the closer. I wonder if the president himself sees himself that way. Does he see his role as being the closer here?
Well, I would say at this point in time, what his focus is on, I'll let other people label it and give baseball analogies should they choose. Would welcome those. But, the president's focus is on, yes, unifying the caucus, resolving disagreements, reminding people of what's at stake here, what we're trying to do here, which is address the climate crisis, lower costs for the American people, cut taxes for 50 million Americans, 4 million small businesses. Yes, there's disagreements, important to litigate and talk about and hear and in Congress, but ultimately to the American people, they want relief. They want more breathing room. He's reminding people of that, and yes, he's also somebody who's been through a few of these battles, fights, litigations, negotiations before, and that's what he's working to get done, to close it.
To close it. All right, first of all, you need to envision two things, all right? You got to envision, speaking about closers, and let's not forget about Trump's The Art of the Deal. Picture Trump going into a meeting with Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney trying to pass some sort of conservative legislation, say moving the Israeli embassy to Jerusalem, or talk about signing off on the Mexico-Canada trade deal, the MCA, or whatever conservative thing that we really needed the support of everybody. Picture Trump going into close the deal with Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney. Now, picture that same meeting in that same Oval Office with Joe Biden trying to close the deal with Krysten Sinema and Joe Manchin. Two totally starkly different views, right? I mean, you want to talk about Joe Biden going in and closing the deal? I think you'd be better off sending Obama in to go and close the deal, right? Or even Pelosi or Schumer, right? I mean, wouldn't they be the ones who would be able to twist his arm a little bit or her arm a little bit more than Biden? I don't think the Democrats even take Biden all that seriously. But here we go. All right? Pelosi talks how they're trying to fight climate change and lower the cost of living for 50 million Americans. What are you talking about? You're destroying the cost of living with this bill specifically. The whole thing just logically doesn't make sense. And that's what I'm here for, just to shine a light on the things that do and don't make sense. All right, we got an election coming up, November 8th, 2022. It's all hands on deck. All right, guys, I need you to subscribe, please. We're on like 10 different podcast stations. We're on 2 different video stations. That would be not BitChute, that would be Rumble. And YouTube, higher or lower. YouTube and Rumble. Ching. Hopefully the producer put a big star in my teeth when I smile. Ching. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please, here's to subscribe. Look us up on Facebook, The Johnny Brew Show, or Common Sense Nevada. And also, drop me a line, drop me a comment. Tell me what you think about this stuff. Tell me if you know an economist that I can interview, because I got a lot of questions that I didn't even touch upon in this episode. Let us know what you think. Text us 702-501-5304. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks so much. My name is John Brookhagen, The Johnny Brew Show.